finally back. He played Lee Adama, or Apollo, in Battlestar Galactica. Please welcome back to FedCon, Jamie Bamber!
Good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you all. I've got a coffee. How are you? Yeah? It's lovely to be back in Germany. I think, as Nessa said, I was here. Someone told me yesterday it was 11 years ago, so that's a long time. What year was that? It's 2014. Yeah, there's a long 11 years in the world, in my life, in your lives, I'm sure. But it's a real pleasure for me to come back. I've had such a nice time here on the two previous occasions that I came. Once with Mary McDonnell, I remember, just Mary and I. Here, I'm all alone on this big, huge stage with you guys. But I'm really eager to get to know you again, to talk. I love this convention. I love what Dirk has put together here, this sort of feeling that we're all trapped aboard a spaceship together for the weekend, and we share our lives, and we all cohabit in this spaceship-like building. And I've got the Federation symbols, I've got Stargates, it seems like all the space people are here. And you've got great guests. So we've only got half an hour, so let's have a conversation. If anybody wants to ask me anything, feel free at any point. I think there's a system to do that. And yeah, I just can't wait to meet you all during the rest of the weekend. So thank you so much for having me back. I'm really grateful to Dirk and to all of you for inviting me. Thank you. Does anybody have a question for me? Otherwise, I'll just keep talking. I can talk about a lot. Mainly about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, who won a European trophy a bit ago. Yes, over there.
Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
Thank you for starting us off today. And thank you for your role that you played on Battlestar. And I noticed that you had a rather short-lived role in the fan series Star Trek Continues, if I'm not very much mistaken. Could you talk to us a little bit about how that came?
Yeah, absolutely. So doing a few conventions back in the day when I was living in Los Angeles, so around the early to mid noughties of the 2000s to the teens, I came across a lovely human being called Vic Mignogna, who I'm sure many of you will know, but he's a seriously prolific and talented voice actor and a huge Star Trek fan, and he obviously wanted to create a fan-driven series based on the original Star Trek. So he took on the James Kirk role, and he was doing this in the Valley on his own dime, putting it all together. And we just got friendly. He was a fan of Battlestar, and he asked me if I would come and play a little cameo as a red shirt, which I did. And I have to say it was extraordinary. The level of love, passion, but also the ingenuity with which he put together these episodes, with everybody doing it for love. Nobody's being paid. They're creating the costumes, creating the sets, camera work, everything. And obviously he didn't have any official licensing rights to make any money from it, so he couldn't do that. But it was a pleasure to help him out and just have a little bit of fun on that one episode. So yeah, it was a memorable moment. I remember we filmed not very far from my house in the Valley at the time. So yeah, it was kind of a cool moment. And I haven't seen Vic for a few years now, so I hope he's well wherever he is, whatever he's up to. You've probably maybe come across him, some of you, more than I have. But please send him my love when you next see him. Great question.
Thank you for being here. So say we all.
So say we all. We'll do that at the end. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi. I think it was 3 weeks ago when you, Mary, and Eddie were in Brussels, and I know you are a big family, the cast, and I wanted to ask, are there any plans for the future to play together, to filming together again after a long time?
Well, thank you for coming to Brussels and for being here. Listen, anytime I get to be with the bigger BSG family, it's a massive, massive privilege. We really do love each other. We went through so much together, and we'll never be separated as a result. Obviously, I live in a different part of the world from most of them now, and so the meetings are rarer and therefore more cherished when they happen. The short answer to your question is no, I can't see that happening. But you never know. Maybe in someone's mind right now, behind a laptop somewhere in Hollywood, someone's putting a deal together or making a plan. I have no idea.
I know you played with Mary at Major Crimes.
Yes, I had one episode with Mary. She
Yes.
invited. She was kind enough to sort of. I don't know how that happened because I remember. So Mary did a show called Major Crimes, and I remember she didn't expect me at the read-through, and she had a massive surprise. But I think she had said to the producers, "I'd love to, get Jamie involved somehow." And Mary and I have always been very close, and she's a lovely, lovely human being, and we're all super close. But I remember being invited, giving the script, and the producer saying, "Don't say a word to Mary." So I went to the studios, and we all sat around and did this table read, and I'm sitting there playing. I guess I was the bad guy, some photographer, some fashion photographer in the episode, and she flipped out when she saw me sitting behind the desk, and that was a lot of fun. And it would be great to work with some of my other castmates again. I would, love to work with all and each one of them. But other than 17th Precinct, which was obviously a lot of us doing a pilot together, which didn't quite work out, that hasn't happened yet. But maybe one day, Eddie and I are super close. I would love to think that we could work together again someday. Maybe not on a Battlestar project, maybe something else. But that would be a dream. It really would be a dream. But we don't need it because we are friends and we see each other all the time. We keep up with each other's work. I'm so proud of what James is doing at the moment, Callus in Slow Horses and Bridget Jones. And I was just with Michael Trucco in Cape Town. We were doing different productions, but Michael Trucco, who played Anders, he was there for a long time doing a show. We had dinner every night for 10 days, just catching up. Even though we were working on different projects, it felt like we were working together again. So that spirit of camaraderie never really goes.
That's great. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good morning.
Hello up there.
Hello. Just like to say, it's nice to hear your natural voice. I know you mainly from obviously Battlestar, so to hear your own accent is a nice change. And I'm curious, when you went to Hollywood and you started working, I guess they asked you, could you do an American accent? Was that something that came naturally? Did you have a lot of voice coaching? And were there any times you maybe slipped up a little bit and some of your American colleagues maybe teased you a little for that?
It's a great question. A bit about my background. My dad was American. He was born in Detroit and, fully American, but he came over to London in the 60s. So I felt like I was sort of steeped in Americana and American culture through him. And I felt I was probably equipped to do an American accent pretty well. When I was at a Lambda, which is, I did a postgraduate at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. I remember I did a duologue of a David Rabe play, and I did a sort of Brooklyn accent. And I felt pretty confident with it. We then did this duologue in New York, and I got some interest from a soap opera, I think, I can't remember which one it was, Days of Our Lives maybe, something like that. And then I had to go in, and they handed me a blind audition and said, can you just read this for us? And I remember suddenly realizing that it wasn't second nature to me because I was struggling with this piece of dialogue I'd never seen before. And I guess they were testing me to see how good the accent was. And at that moment I sort of went, whoa, wait a minute, it's okay to prepare something and get ready, but to be fully fluid and able to behave naturally, I'm probably not quite there yet. So that was me as a very young, I hadn't even started working professionally. And then when I first went to the US, I got an agent pretty quickly in London. I met this man called J. Michael Bloom in the Dorchester Hotel. It was all very intimidating and strange. But he invited me over to LA for about 6 weeks. He lent me an old car. I stayed in this actually it wasn't too bad. It was a very cheap motel. I think I negotiated a rate of $20 a night for like 5 weeks on the Hollywood, just north of the Hollywood Boulevard, called the Hollywood Best Inn. It is not the best inn in Hollywood, but it was for me at the time. And every day, I think I had 3 auditions, and I was doing American the whole time. And yeah, it was hard. So I was very nervous when I first started on the set. I was paranoid. I was at Battlestar when I finally got this job. To be playing Edward James Olmos's son, being aware, that we maybe don't look like father-son, in everyday life. And I just thought, I am the easiest link here to get rid of. If there's a bit of this puzzle that doesn't quite fit, I mean, you're not getting rid of Ed, you're not getting rid of anyone else. It's me, so I have to really step up. And Eddie was pretty challenging. He was like, you gotta stay in the accent 24/7 all the time. You gotta live it, breathe it. When you go to the grocery store, you gotta order your bananas in American. And I was like, man, I can't be that. I need to switch off from work. I can't. Nobody's paying me enough, to do a Daniel Day-Lewis and disappear in Florence and become a cobbler for 6 months. So I can't do that. I'm a father. I have to talk to my kids. I can't hide. So yeah, it was tough that first year. And when I watched the miniseries back, not so much now, but at the time I was paranoid about hearing little things, and I did hear them. Everyone else was very kind to me. And now I've worked up, I know my technique, and it is, when the camera rolls, I'm 100% in it. When a camera stops, I'm 100% free to be whoever I want to be. And as long as I have a little bit of me reset time, I can do that, and I can flip in and out, and I'm pretty comfortable with it now. But I still play with accents, and sometimes I get tapped on the shoulder saying, we're not really buying this, or we want to change it. But it's one of the joys I have in life, and the lesson I've learned is you go for it. Like, go for it 100%. If you're going to try the accent, try it all the way. And it's part of the fun of being an actor. And it's the one thing I'm uncomfortable with this spirit at the moment of lived experience, that you have to have lived the experience you play. And I understand why that intention, and it's well meant, and it's about inclusivity, and it's about authenticity. But essentially, when you're playing a drama, and you're taking somebody on a journey from A to Z within maybe 2 hours on the stage, and you're aging, and you're dying, and you're railing, it's not lived experience. It's called imagination, and it's about understanding how you would react to hypothetical situations, and accents and all of that are part of what it is, to be an artist. It's not about reality. Reality, if you just throw reality back at people, it's kind of unwatchably boring. Art is about finding the essence of reality, and accents and imagination, they're all part of that. And yes, we may mess up from time to time, but it doesn't mean you don't have the right to try in a lot of these situations. I mean, obviously there are situations which at the moment it's insensitive to do that, and I fully respect that, but accents are something that I think are still great fun. So sorry, very long answer.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hi.
Next thing after you did Battlestar was Law & Order UK. Can you tell us something about how you approached or how you switched from the I'm a space pilot to I'm a copper somewhere in London, or whatever you did there?
Yeah, that's a great question, because at the end of Battlestar, we were all coming off 5 years of this amazingly rewarding, tumultuous journey where every day we were fighting for our story, our character within the story. There were so many of us by the end working on that show. It really was a shared endeavor. And everyone was wondering, what next? Now that we're not we anymore, it's all, I'm back to just me. What am I going to do? And we moved to the other side of the world. I just moved the family to Los Angeles. And so it was very strange to get it wasn't initially an offer. I had to do some tapes. I read for 2 different roles, and eventually it became clear they were very interested in me to do this show. And the thing that made it interesting for me was, at the time, and I think still to this day, I'm not sure there's ever been an American successful television show that the Brits have remade or made their own version of. The other way around has always happened. Successes in the UK then get made in bigger, like The Office, you know, whatever, there's millions of them, get remade in America with an American cast. And I thought this is an amazing opportunity to take a very, very strong televisual format and bring it back to London, and bring what I know back to London, where I'm from. So I was very excited to do it. And I was working with amazing people. I mean, you know, Dame Harriet Walter and Bradley Walsh and Ben Daniels and Freema Edgerman. You know, amazing people. Chris Chibnall, who's one of the, you know, great British writers. You know, right now he handled Doctor Who for a long time. He's now a successful novelist as well, and a lovely human being. I was working with these amazing people, but the difference was, and the struggle that I found, is going from the wonderful epic journey of Battlestar Galactica, where literally you don't know what's going to happen to your character next episode. And I played a character who did everything, as you well know, from fighter pilot to lawyer to politician to this. You know, you're doing these extraordinary tasks every day, and then becoming a police officer, and essentially in a tight televisual format, which requires more or less the same thing of you every week. I found that very difficult, and it was only, you know, the brilliance of Bradley playing that double act that kept it fresh and interesting. And I don't think I actually appreciated it at the time. We were a big hit in the UK, and then I asked to leave after 2.5 years to go back to America and sort of start my career over there again. And I don't think I regret that, but I'm not sure I really appreciated quite how wonderful Law and Order UK was at the time. And I'm not sure maybe I would have done it for a little longer, seen out my contract, if I could do it again.
Thank you.
Hi, Jamie.
Hello.
I love the Hornblower films. Could you tell us a little bit about the filming? Have you been on the ship a lot?
Yeah, so Hornblower, for those that don't know, was my first ever job. I was at drama school, and I mentioned auditions for agents. We did an evening of duologues, so I got a couple of agents interested in me, and they were sending me up for work while I was still at drama school. And then one of them sent me on a film, which I didn't get, but I went to the wonderful casting directors, the Hubbards, John Hubbard, and we're this wonderful casting agency, an Irish family, who had a casting agency right in the middle of Soho, in the old heart of the film industry in London, which doesn't really exist anymore. But in the old days, everything was right in the middle of London. And I remember he just said, look, come with me, I'm going to go take you down the road. And he took me up the corridor into a different room. And there was a man sitting there called Andrew Grieve, I was told. He was a director. And so I went from one opportunity straight into another. And essentially, on the basis of that meeting, I got a screen test to play Hornblower, which I didn't get because my wonderful friend Johan Griffith did, and was absolutely right for it. But they wrote me a part to play the best friend, and I couldn't believe it. It was a dream, first job. The idea of wearing, you know, those amazing uniforms, and then yes, they built a replica frigate, a replica of the Indefatigable, called the Grand Turk, and they built it from scratch, and they sailed it all the way out to Yalta, which is, well, now Russia, but was Ukraine on the Black Sea. And we filmed there for about 3 months in the winter, and we were out at sea every day, and I couldn't believe it. But the first day that they drove me down, I saw this ship, and we got dressed, and then we went aboard the ship, and the ship took off, and we were out at sea for 12 hours. You know, that's what we did all day long. It was, and the director of photography was seasick the whole time, throwing up between takes. If you weren't in the scene, you went down below decks and fell asleep somewhere. It was like being in the Navy. It was really like shift work. It was very weird, but I just loved it, and I hated every day off. I wanted to be at work. I wanted to be on the ship. I didn't want to be in my strange hotel room in Yalta, where it was pretty bleak, because it was pretty soon after the former Soviet Union had fell, and there was nothing much to do in Crimea. It was a pretty depressed area. A very interesting time. But anyway, that was my initial experience, and I made lifelong friends with everybody involved. Again, in these ship shows, something about a ship show, when you're all in a ship stuck together, whether it's in space or out at sea on the Black Sea, you get very close. And we did it, I think I did 4 Hornblower movies over 3 different shoots. We shot also in Menorca, also in Portugal, and yeah, but just an amazing experience as a young actor. Thank you so much for appreciating it.
Hi, Jamie. It's Rick Asher. I got a quick question. For the Battlestar Galactica series, did you guys do any kind of military training prior to doing the series?
We absolutely did. Michael Ramo weirdly was sort of obsessed with Band of Brothers at the time, and so he asked me, you know, what did you do? And I said, well, honestly, Michael, I didn't do anything for Band of Brothers because I wasn't playing a character who was in the training. I was a replacement lieutenant, so I came in halfway. And it was very weird for me because everyone else had the training and I didn't. And so they were encouraged to be in character, to not give us too much respect because we were replacing past comrades who had landed on the beaches and had been dropped in to Normandy. And obviously I was coming in as Lieutenant Foley, as a West Point graduate, and had to earn their respect. So I was very aware of what a boot camp can give you as a cast. And if you haven't had that, how you somehow feel you're at a bit of a disadvantage. Anyway, so he orchestrated with a Texas Ranger called Ron Blecker, who created a boot camp for us, created the military structure of Battlestar Galactica. He created it based on the Marines and the Navy in the US. He created a hierarchy, a ranking, insignias. He created the whole military, the law, if you wish, for the military aboard this spaceship. And for 2 days, he beasted us. Like we were taken into the middle of nowhere in British Columbia on a bus. We'd only just met. I mean, I knew Katie and I knew Grace because we met during the audition process in Los Angeles. But the local Vancouver cast, who were the other military characters, we literally just met at the sound stages with a duffel bag, thrown on a bus, driven 2 hours into the countryside, some log cabin somewhere, and then as we got off the bus, this drill instructor shouting at us and, you know, getting us to behave as new recruits, you know, would be. And yeah, it was pretty tough for a day and a half, and then all the gruff exteriors suddenly sort of melted away as, you know, Ron transferred from the drill instructor to the military advisor of a bunch of actors who you know, you want to create a trust and a bond with. But it was a great experience because we all really did get to know each other. We all had to do assault courses, physical, PT challenges. We had to do sort of problem-solving exercises, and we worked together as a team. And within that, Ron was very clever to sort of, I don't know, give the officers a bit of insight that maybe the rest didn't have, so that we would have a little advantage, so that there was a bit of a hierarchy that developed within the exercises. It was an interesting couple of days anyway, and I think it served its purpose. And Ron did a fantastic job of setting the tone, the military tone that we all could, you know, rely on, sort of understand that there's a reality to this, because at the end of the day, the whole vision for Battlestar was to create a world that seems absolutely plausible, real, and should feel familiar to an audience in a way that a lot of space shows try the opposite. You know, you're trying to take people out of the familiar. We were trying to sort of make this world look same, but different.
Yeah, your military salutes are really good on the Battlestar Galactica. I'm part of military, so it's...
I was going to ask, I imagine so. Where's your experience been?
Well, I used to be a drill instructor back in Portugal.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and we used to have some people come on our base, some of the actors and stuff. We kind of run through what we do for certain scenes and stuff like that. And one of the biggest problems they have is doing the military salute.
The salute, yeah, we were, drilled that. I mean, it's straight upright, so something like that.
Yeah, you did
In Britain, we do it the long way up, short way down. You guys are short way. Anyway, yeah, I mean, all of that. Ron was brutal on that, and I hope we got that right. But I appreciate your kind words and the great question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The original Battlestar Galactica was my first big sci-fi entry, so to say. Can you describe working with late Richard Hatch and put it additional pressure on you doing his role with him present?
That's a great question. Like you, I was a huge Battlestar Galactica fan in the early 80s, late 70s. I was, I don't know, tiny, but I remember watching it. It was on. It seemed to be on TV all the time. And I loved Star Wars. I had all the figures, my brother and I, every weekend, we would create a base of, under the duvets and build chairs and create snowscapes that were on, with tauntauns and all the rest of it. So I was obsessed by space dramas. And then because there were no Star Wars films through my teenage years, for my generation, we had to sort of leave it behind for a while. Obviously now Star Wars is everywhere, but for many of those years I kind of drifted off, and same thing with Battlestar. So when this project first landed on my desk, it was a very strange moment of half-recollected childhood images of Vipers and the joysticks and the Cylons and Baltar on a big chair. Those were sort of images seared into my brain, but I didn't quite know how they were connected or what the story was. And Richard was front and center in all of that. He was Apollo, he was like Luke Skywalker to me, and I was always a Luke Skywalker, never had a solo guy. So I was always Luke Skywalker, and I was always Apollo. I was never Starbuck in my head. And then, of course, when I got cast, it was only then that I really understood that there was a fan base that had never gone away, and that the show was very much still part of their lives, and that they wanted it back. And obviously, it was difficult because we represented the end of a dream for those particular fans, and for Richard, who'd been trying very hard. I didn't know any of this, to resurrect it. So that was complicated, and we got a lot of flack, a lot of sort of quite difficult reaction from the fans. And the first time we did Comic-Con was before our miniseries aired, and it was just Katie and I and Ron Moore, who we just met because Ron wasn't really part of shooting the miniseries. He wrote it, but then was doing something else. So we went to this massive hall in San Diego, and there were probably less people than there are in this room right now, and it was quiet. Like, it was scary because they were like arms crossed. What are you doing? And it was tough. And then Katie had told me that she'd had I don't think they were serious, but some death. I'm going to wrap this up. Some death threats and shit like that. So it was tough. And when I first was going to meet Richard, I was scared because obviously he's massive to me, and I thought this is going to be an antagonistic relationship, a difficult relationship. But he is, as you all know, was the nicest, most gentlest, most encouraging man of the heart, and that just exuded the first time we met. And I was determined to say to him, "Listen, I'm a fan of yours," and he beat me to it because he'd watched our show and he was thrilled to be part of it as Tom Zarek. And we are so blessed to have had him involved in our family, and he's very much part of our family. He gave one of my daughters, I remember, a fighter jacket for her 4th birthday or something. He came to my house, and he was just a sweet, sweet guy. So I count myself blessed to have shared the screen with him. One day I'd love to do the same with Mark Hamill. That would be nice. Guys, I'm afraid I guess that's time. But it's always a pleasure to connect with you. I appreciate you guys so very much. All these years later, you're still here. You're still asking questions. You're still, holding a candle for this show that we gave all our lives to for those 5 or 6 years, and will always be a part of us. I'm thrilled that it still brings joy and is relevant to you, and sadly it's still relevant to the world. That's not necessarily such a good thing, but at least it's there to comment and to hopefully sort of enlighten us as well, because it was great writing. I'm only here because of that great writing, and I'm only here because you still appreciate it, and that for me means everything. So you all.
And the cool thing is there will be another Q&A tomorrow at 3 o'clock right here.
See you there.
So join us there. Thank you very much. Once again, Jamie Bamber.